The 6-year-old girl collapsed at his doorstep, her tiny body covered in ice, her lips blue as death. "Please," she gasped through frozen tears, "don't let my mama die." Marcus Cole hadn't spoken to another human being in 8 months. He had walked away from everything: his career, his family, his reason to live. But when this child grabbed his hand with her freezing fingers, when his retired military canine Shadow began howling into the blizzard, Marcus knew that the past he'd been running from had finally caught up to him. What happened next would change everything. If this story touches your heart, please subscribe to our channel and follow along until the very end. Drop a comment telling us which city you're watching from. We'd love to see how far this story travels. Marcus Cole heard the scratching at his door at exactly 2:47 in the afternoon. He didn't move from his chair. The bottle of whiskey sat half empty on the table beside him, and the photograph in his hand had grown warm from how long he'd been holding it. 3 men in military gear, smiling arms around each other, and a small Afghan girl standing in front of them, her eyes bright with hope. All of them dead now, except him. Shadow lifted his head from the floor ears, rotating toward the door. The Belgian Malinois hadn't moved from that spot in 3 hours, but now every muscle in his body went rigid. "It's nothing," Marcus said. His voice came out rough, unused. "Wind." But Shadow didn't settle. Instead, the dog rose to his feet and padded toward the door, nails clicking against the wooden floor. He pressed his nose to the gap beneath it and inhaled deeply. Then he whined. Marcus set down the photograph. In 2 years of living with this dog, 2 years of nightmares and silence and slow deterioration, he had never heard Shadow make that sound. Not once. The scratching came again, weaker this time. Marcus stood. His knees protested. His back ached from hours of sitting motionless, and the whiskey made everything feel slightly tilted. He crossed the small cabin in 4 steps and pulled open the door. The wind hit him first, a wall of frozen air that stole the breath from his lungs. The blizzard had arrived 3 hours earlier than predicted, and visibility had dropped to almost nothing. White everywhere. White and howling chaos. Then he looked down. A child lay crumpled on his doorstep. A girl impossibly small, her blonde hair matted with ice. She wore a thin coat meant for autumn, not winter, and a red scarf wrapped around her neck, the only color against all that white. Her eyes were closed, her skin was gray, and for one terrible moment Marcus thought she was dead. Then her lips moved. "Please." Marcus dropped to his knees without thinking. His hands, steady hands that had held rifles and defused bombs and dragged wounded men to safety, trembled as he touched her face. Ice cold. Dangerously cold. "Jesus Christ. Hey, can you hear me?" The girl's eyes fluttered open. Green. Startlingly green, like spring leaves. They focused on his face with desperate intensity. "Don't let my mama die." The words came out in a frozen whisper, barely audible over the wind. But Marcus heard them. Every syllable carved itself into his brain. Where's your mother? What happened?" "The car." The girl's hand moved, trembling violently, pointing toward the white void behind her. "She crashed. The old mill road. She's trapped, and the snow is... Her eyes rolled back. Her body went limp. Marcus caught her before she hit the ground. No, stay with me. Come on, stay with me." He lifted her. She weighed nothing, practically nothing, and carried her inside. Shadow had already backed away from the door, giving him room, but the dog never took his eyes off the child. His whole body vibrated with tension. Marcus laid her on the couch near the wood stove, the warmest spot in the cabin. His military training kicked in despite the whiskey fog. Assess, prioritize, act. Hypothermia stage 2 at minimum. Core temperature dropping. Possible frostbite on fingers and toes. She needed warmth. She needed it now, and she needed medical attention he couldn't provide. He grabbed blankets from his bed, wrapped them around her, tucked them under her chin. Her shivers were violent, which was actually good. It meant her body was still fighting. When the shivering stopped, that's when you really had to worry. "Come on, little girl, come on." Her eyes opened again. This time, they found his face immediately, as if she'd been looking for him even in unconsciousness. "Shadow," she whispered. Marcus froze. What did you say? Your dog. His name is Shadow. A ghost of a smile crossed her blue lips. He found me. In the snow. He was barking and I followed the sound and he found me. Marcus turned to look at Shadow. The Malinois stood rigid beside the couch, his brown eyes fixed on the girl with an intensity that Marcus recognized. It was the same look Shadow used to give when they were working, when there was a mission, when someone's life depended on him. He hasn't barked in 2 years, Marcus said, more to himself than to her. He did today. The girl's frozen hand emerged from the blankets and reached toward Shadow. The dog immediately moved closer, pressing his muzzle into her palm. He's warm. He's so warm. What's your name? Lily. Lily Hartwell. I'm 6 3/4. Her teeth chattered violently. My mama is Sarah. She's a nurse. She takes care of old people. We were driving home from town and something happened to the car and it just flew off the road and there was so much white and then we were falling and... Her voice broke. Tears spilled down her cheeks, immediately turning to ice on her skin. Hey, look at me. Marcus took her face in his hands as gently as he could. Your mama. Is she hurt? Her legs. She can't move her legs. The car is all crushed and she told me to go to find help, but I didn't want to leave her. I didn't want to... You did the right thing. You hear me? You did exactly the right thing. But she's alone. She's alone in the dark and the cold, and I promised I'd come back. I promised. Marcus looked at the window. Nothing but white. The wind screamed like something alive, something hungry. The weather radio on his shelf had been repeating the same warning for hours. Worst blizzard in 40 years. Do not travel under any circumstances. Stay indoors and wait for emergency services. Emergency services. He almost laughed. The nearest hospital was 40 miles away. The roads were impassable. Cell towers were down, phone lines were dead, and even his satellite phone had been giving him nothing but static since morning. If Sarah Hartwell was trapped in a car somewhere out in that blizzard, she would be dead within hours. Maybe less. It wasn't his problem. He'd walked away from saving people 2 years ago after failing so catastrophically that 3 of his brothers and 1 innocent child had died because of his decisions. He'd come to this cabin to disappear, to drink himself into oblivion, to wait for his own end without hurting anyone else. This wasn't his fight. Mr. Lily was looking up at him with those impossible green eyes. Her small hand had found his, her frozen fingers wrapping around his calloused ones. Please, she's all I have. My daddy died 2 years ago in the mine accident. And it's just been me and her ever since, and I can't be alone. Please don't let me be alone. Marcus felt something crack inside his chest, something he'd thought was dead. He looked at Shadow. The dog looked back at him, and for the first time in 2 years, Marcus saw something in those brown eyes that wasn't pain or fear or vacant withdrawal. He saw purpose. How far? Marcus heard himself ask. The old mill road. How far from here? I don't know. I walked for a long time. I passed 4 houses, but nobody would open their doors. They saw me through the windows, but they just looked at me and turned away. 4 houses. That meant at least 2 miles, probably 3 through a blizzard that should have killed her 10 times over. This 6-year-old girl had walked through hell itself, because every adult she'd encountered had decided their own comfort was more important than a child's life. Your cabin was the last one, Lily continued. After you, there's just the forest. But I saw your light, and then Shadow was barking, and I knew you would help. How did you know that? Lily's grip on his hand tightened. Because I saw you at the store yesterday. You bought me medicine when I didn't have enough money. You didn't want anyone to see you do it, but I saw. And Mama always says the best people are the ones who help when nobody's watching. Marcus remembered now. The general store, the little girl counting pennies for cough medicine while old Harold Benson tapped his fingers impatiently on the counter. Marcus had thrown a 20 at Harold and walked out without saying a word. He hadn't even looked at the girl's face. But she had looked at his. You have to find her, Lily said. Shadow has to find her. He's a rescue dog, isn't he? I can tell. He has the eyes of a rescue dog. Please, you're the only ones who can save my mama. Marcus stood up. His head pounded, his heart raced, and every logical part of his brain screamed at him that this was suicide. Going out in that blizzard, searching for a woman who might already be dead, risking his life and Shadow's life for strangers. But then he looked at Lily, and he saw another face. A smaller face, darker skin, brown eyes instead of green. A girl named Amira who had trusted him to protect her, who had believed in him until the very last second when the explosion took everything away. He'd been 30 seconds too late to save Amira. He would not be too late again. Shadow. The single word changed everything. The dog's ears snapped forward. His posture shifted from alert to ready. 2 years of retirement, 2 years of depression and anxiety and nightmares, and somehow the training was still there, buried beneath the trauma. Find. Shadow moved to Lily, immediately pressing his nose to her hair, her coat inhaling deeply, memorizing, cataloging. When he was done, he looked up at Marcus and whined a sound that clearly meant he was ready. Lily, listen to me carefully. Marcus crouched beside the couch. I need you to stay here. Keep those blankets on, stay near the fire. Don't open the door for anyone. The generator has enough fuel to last 12 hours. I'll be back with your mother before then. Promise. The word hit him like a bullet. He'd made promises before. He'd broken them. I promise, he said anyway. He moved quickly after that. His body remembered what his mind wanted to forget. The gear closet that he hadn't opened in 2 years, now he threw it wide and started pulling out equipment. Thermal suit, snow boots, emergency pack, first aid kit, rope, flashlights, flares. And then at the bottom of the closet, Shadow's working harness. Marcus held it in his hands for a long moment. The leather was stiff from disuse, but the clip still worked. The padding was intact. The last time Shadow had worn this, they'd been in a cave system in Afghanistan, tracking a high-value target through the darkness. Everything had gone wrong 3 hours later. Shadow approached and sat directly in front of him. The dog's eyes were steady, calm, ready. He knew what the harness meant. He wanted it. Marcus slipped it over Shadow's head and clipped it into place. The transformation was immediate. Shadow's whole body changed, straighter spine, sharper focus, and almost electric energy that radiated from every muscle. This wasn't the broken, anxious dog who'd been lying on Marcus's floor for 2 years. This was a warrior. Lily. Marcus pulled on his final layer and grabbed the pack. I need your mother's scarf, the red one. But that's her favorite. She'll be cold without it. Shadow needs it to find her. He needs to know what she smells like. Lily hesitated, then slowly unwrapped the scarf from her own neck. She'd been wearing it for warmth this whole time, her mother's scarf, the only piece of Sarah Hartwell she had left. Bring it back, she said, pressing it into Marcus's hands. Bring her back. I will. He opened the door. The blizzard roared its fury, trying to push him back, trying to keep him inside where it was safe. Shadow shouldered past him and stepped out into the white. No hesitation. No fear. Marcus followed. The cold was beyond anything he'd experienced in his 20 years of military service. He'd operated in every climate imaginable, deserts that could cook a man alive, mountains where the air was too thin to breathe, jungles so humid that your gear rotted off your body. But this blizzard was different. This blizzard was alive. The wind didn't just blow, it attacked. It found every gap in his clothing, every exposed inch of skin, and it drove ice into him like tiny knives. Within minutes, his face was numb. Within 10 minutes, he couldn't feel his fingers despite the insulated gloves. But Shadow kept moving. The Malinois had his nose to the ground, processing scents that Marcus couldn't begin to imagine. The red scarf was tucked into Marcus's pack, its smell memorized, and locked into Shadow's incredible brain. Now the dog was searching for that same smell out in the white wilderness. And he was finding traces. Every few yards, Shadow would pause, nose working furiously, then adjust his direction slightly. He was tracking Lily's path backward, following the trail she'd left on her journey to Marcus's cabin. Snow was covering the footprints rapidly, but the smell remained and Shadow never wavered. Marcus followed head down, focusing on nothing but putting one foot in front of the other. His mind tried to wander to dark places, to guilt, to failure, to all the reasons he'd retreated from the world, but he forced it back to the present. One step. Another. Another. Shadow barked. Marcus looked up. The dog had stopped beside something barely visible in the snow, a small depression already filling in. A footprint. Lily's footprint. But that wasn't what had made Shadow bark. The dog was standing rigid, staring at something just beyond the footprint. Marcus pushed forward to see. A children's glove. Pink with a cartoon princess on it. It was half buried in the snow, and when Marcus picked it up, he realized it was frozen solid. Lily had lost this during her journey and hadn't even noticed. Her hands must have been so numb that she couldn't feel the difference. This little girl had walked through the apocalypse with bare hands. Marcus looked back in the direction they'd come. His cabin was invisible now, swallowed by the storm. Lily was back there alone, wrapped in blankets, trusting a stranger to save her mother. He tucked the glove into his pocket and pushed forward. 20 minutes, 30, an hour. The blizzard showed no sign of letting up. If anything, it was getting worse. The temperature had dropped at least another 10 degrees, and the snow was now falling so thick that Marcus could barely see Shadow 5 feet ahead. But the dog never stopped, never hesitated. He moved with a certainty that Marcus found almost miraculous, considering that every landmark, every trail, every normal navigation point had been completely erased by white. Then Shadow froze. Not a working pause, a complete stop. His body went low, ears flat, and a growl rumbled deep in his chest. Marcus recognized that signal immediately. Threat. What is it, boy? Shadow didn't move, but his growl intensified. He was staring at something off to their left, something hidden by the swirling snow. Marcus reached for the hunting knife on his belt. Bears were rare this time of year, most were hibernating but not unheard of. Mountain lions were a bigger concern, or maybe, help, is someone there? Please help. A voice, human, female, coming from exactly where Shadow was growling. Marcus pushed past the dog and stumbled forward. 3 steps, 5, 10, and then he saw her. A woman stood in the snow waving frantically. She was wearing a heavy coat and snow boots, and she looked relatively healthy, not like someone who'd been trapped in a crashed car. Thank God, she cried as Marcus approached. I've been wandering for hours. My car broke down on the highway, and I've been trying to find shelter. Please, you have to help me. Marcus stopped. Something was wrong. Shadow hadn't moved from his position, and his growl had only gotten louder. Your car broke down, Marcus said carefully. On which highway? Route 7, about 3 miles from here. Route 7 is south. You're heading north. The woman's face flickered. Just for a moment. Just enough. God, I'm so turned around. This storm, it's impossible to tell which direction. Shadow, guard. The Malinois moved instantly, positioning himself between Marcus and the woman. His growl became a snarl. Call off your dog. The woman's voice changed, harder now, less frightened. I said call him off. Tell me who you really are. I told you my car broke down. You're not wet enough. You've been outside for hours in a blizzard and your coat is barely damp. You're not shivering despite the cold. And you're wearing snow boots that look brand new, no salt stains, no wear marks. Those aren't survival boots. Those are boots someone bought specifically for today. The woman stared at him. Her face was different now. The fear was gone, replaced by calculation. Navy SEAL, she said flatly. They told me you'd been trained, but I didn't believe you'd notice details that fast. Who's they? People who want what's best for everyone. People who think you should go back to your cabin and forget this whole night ever happened. There's a woman dying out here. Sarah Hartwell made certain choices. She got involved in things she shouldn't have, and now she's paying the price. Marcus felt the blood drain from his face. You know about Sarah. You know about the crash. The crash wasn't an accident, Mr. Cole. It was a correction. And if you're smart, you'll turn around right now and let nature take its course. And if I'm not smart... The woman smiled. It was the coldest thing Marcus had seen all night. Then I guess you'll join her. She pulled something from her pocket. Marcus didn't wait to see what it was. He dropped to the ground just as a gunshot cracked through the wind, so close that he felt the heat of the bullet passing over his head. Shadow was already moving. The dog launched himself at the woman, 90 pounds of muscle and fury. She screamed, tried to bring the gun around, but Shadow's jaws clamped onto her arm and twisted. The gun disappeared into the snow. Marcus scrambled forward. The woman was fighting kicking, trying to throw Shadow off, but the Malinois had locked on and wouldn't let go. Release. Shadow released immediately, backing up but staying ready. The woman clutched her arm, which was bleeding through her coat. Who sent you? Marcus stood over her, his knife in his hand. Who arranged the crash? You have no idea what you're dealing with. Then educate me. The woman laughed, a harsh, painful sound. The Harrison property, that's what this is all about. Old man Harrison left it to you, and some very powerful people need that land. Sarah Hartwell saw things, heard things, maybe found some papers she shouldn't have found. She had to go. And now, apparently, so do you. Marcus's mind raced. Harrison. He remembered the old veteran, the only person in this town who'd treated him like a human being. Harrison had died last spring, supposedly of natural causes. His lawyer had contacted Marcus about the will, about the unexpected inheritance of 200 acres of mountain land. They killed Harrison, Marcus said. Didn't they? He was old, he was difficult, and he was in the way. The woman's voice was growing weaker, the blood loss taking its toll. You should have sold when they offered. You should have taken the money and disappeared. Now it's too complicated. Where is Sarah's car? Exactly where? I'll never tell you. Marcus looked at Shadow. The dog was watching the woman with predator eyes. You know what he does to threats, Marcus said quietly. You've done your research. You know what happened to those Taliban fighters who tried to ambush our squad in the caves. The woman's face went white. Old Mill Road? She gasped. Half a mile past the abandoned sawmill. There's a ravine. The car went off the edge. That's where you'll find her. Is she still alive? I don't know. The crash was hours ago, in this cold. She shrugged weakly. Marcus pulled the emergency beacon from his pack, a device he'd hoped he wouldn't need. He activated it and dropped it in the snow next to the woman. That'll bring the rangers to your location in a few hours, assuming the storm clears. You'll probably survive until then. You're just going to leave me here. You tried to kill me. Be grateful I'm not letting Shadow finish the job. He stood and whistled sharply. Shadow came to his side immediately. Find, Marcus said, and he pressed Sarah's scarf to the dog's nose one more time. Find her boy. Fast. Shadow's head snapped toward the northwest. He'd caught something, a trace of the scent on the wind, a direction that made sense. Without waiting for Marcus, he began to move powerful legs, carrying him through the snow with renewed purpose. Marcus followed, leaving the wounded woman behind in the white. The old mill road was barely recognizable. Years of disuse had let the forest reclaim it, and the blizzard had finished the job. Where there had once been a dirt track wide enough for trucks, there was now nothing but an unbroken field of white. But Shadow knew where to go. The dog led Marcus through the trees past the rotting hulk of the abandoned sawmill, and then suddenly stopped. His body went low again, but this time there was no growl. Instead, he whined a high, anxious sound that Marcus had learned to recognize in their years of working together. Someone was in trouble. Someone who needed help now. Where boy, show me. Shadow moved to the edge of what Marcus realized was a cliff, the ravine the woman had mentioned. He looked down into the white void and saw nothing but swirling snow. Then faintly he heard it, a voice, weak, female, coming from somewhere far below. Please, someone, anyone. Marcus dropped to his belly and crawled to the very edge of the ravine. The drop was at least 30 feet steep, icy, and littered with fallen trees and rocks. At the bottom, barely visible through the snow, was the dark shape of a car. It had landed upside down. Sarah Hartwell. The voice stopped, then louder. Hello, is someone there? Please, I'm trapped. I'm coming, Stay calm. I'm coming down. Marcus pulled the rope from his pack. His fingers were so cold that he could barely tie the knots, but muscle memory carried him through. He anchored the rope to a thick pine tree, tested it with his full weight, and then began the descent. The cliff face was treacherous. Ice coated every surface, and the wind tried to tear him loose with every gust. Twice he slipped, catching himself on the rope just before disaster. Shadow stayed at the top, watching, whining, unable to follow, but refusing to leave. Finally, Marcus's boots hit level ground. The car was 20 feet away, crumpled against a boulder that had stopped its fatal roll. The driver's side was completely crushed. Sarah. Here, I'm here. Marcus circled to the passenger side. The window had shattered in the crash, and through the opening he could see her, a woman in her mid-30s. Dark hair matted with blood, her face pale and streaked with frozen tears. She was conscious, which was a miracle. She was alive, which was even more of one. My name is Marcus. Your daughter sent me. Sarah's eyes went wide. Lily's okay. She made it to my cabin. She's safe and warm. Oh, God. Sarah began to sob, deep, racking sobs that shook her whole body. Oh, God. She found help. I sent her out into the storm because I thought it was better for her to try than to stay here and die with me. But I didn't know if she would make it. I didn't know. She made it. She's incredible. And now I need to get you out of here so you can see her again. Marcus assessed the situation quickly. Sarah's legs were pinned by the crushed door and dashboard. She'd been hanging partially upside down for hours, which meant possible internal bleeding, definite circulation problems. Moving her would be dangerous. Leaving her would be fatal. I have to cut you out, he said. It's going to hurt. I don't care about pain. Just get me to my daughter. He worked for 20 minutes with his knife and his bare hands, cutting away metal and fabric, creating enough space to reach her legs. The cold actually helped. It had numbed much of her body, so she didn't feel the worst of what he was doing. Finally, with one last pull, she slid free. Sarah screamed a brief, sharp sound that told Marcus her legs were definitely injured, but probably not broken. Circulation returning, pain receptors waking up. She'd need medical attention, but she would live. He lifted her in his arms and looked up at the cliff face they'd have to climb. I can't do it, Sarah whispered. I can't climb. My legs don't work right. You don't have to climb. I'm going to carry you. That's impossible. Lady, I once carried 2 wounded men 3 miles through Taliban territory while bleeding from 4 different bullet holes. This is nothing. He tied the rope around both of them, creating a harness that would let him climb while keeping Sarah secure against his chest. It was awkward, difficult, and absolutely insane, but it worked. Inch by inch, Marcus hauled them up the cliff face. His muscles screamed. His lungs burned. The cold tried to freeze the sweat on his body and turn him into ice. But he didn't stop. He couldn't stop. Not with this woman's life in his hands. At the top, Shadow was waiting. The dog immediately pressed against Sarah, sharing his warmth, and she wrapped her arms around his neck and cried into his fur. Thank you, she whispered. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Marcus allowed himself 10 seconds to catch his breath. 10 seconds to feel the relief of having done something right for the first time in 2 years. Then he heard the engines. Shah. 2 sets of headlights cut through the blizzard, approaching from the direction of town, trucks moving fast despite the impossible conditions. Marcus's instincts screamed warning. We have to move. What's wrong? The people who arranged your crash, they're not going to let you walk away. They sent someone to stop me already, and she told them I was coming for you. Sarah's face changed. You know what this is about. Harrison's land. You found something, didn't you? Something they didn't want found. There was an envelope. He gave it to me before he died. He said it was important that people would kill for it. I didn't believe him. I thought he was just a confused old man. Her voice broke. But then my brakes failed, and I knew. Where's the envelope now? Hidden. At my house. in Lily's room. The trucks were getting closer. Marcus could hear men's voices now carried on the wind. They were searching. They were hunting. "Can you walk at all?" Sarah tried to stand. Her legs buckled immediately. "I can crawl. If I have to, I can crawl." "You won't have to. Shadow." The dog looked at him alert and ready. "Guide, home." Shadow understood immediately. He positioned himself beside Sarah, offering his body as support. She grabbed his harness with one hand, and with Marcus supporting her other side, they began to move. The journey that had taken Marcus an hour to make now stretched into 2. Every step was agony for Sarah, but she never complained. Not once. She just gritted her teeth and kept moving, one hand on Shadow, the other wrapped around Marcus's shoulders. Behind them, the sounds of pursuit grew closer, then faded, then grew closer again. The blizzard was working in their favor now, hiding their tracks, confusing their hunters. But it wouldn't last forever. And then finally, Marcus saw it. His cabin a dark shape against the white, with a single light burning in the window. "Lily," Sarah breathed. "Lily, baby, I'm coming." They reached the door just as the storm reached its peak. Marcus kicked it open, half carrying Sarah inside, and slammed it shut against the wind. "Mama!" Lily launched herself off the couch and into her mother's arms. Sarah collapsed to the floor, sobbing, clutching her daughter like she would never let go. "Baby, baby, my baby." "Mama, I knew they'd find you. I knew Shadow would find you. I knew." Marcus stepped back, watching. Shadow sat beside him, tongue hanging out, looking almost proud. And for one brief moment, standing there in his cabin with this family reunited before him, Marcus Cole felt something he hadn't felt in 2 years. He felt like maybe, just maybe, he wasn't beyond saving after all. Then his satellite phone, which had been giving nothing but static for hours, suddenly crackled to life. A voice came through, cold and familiar. "Mr. Cole, this is Deputy Wade Benson. I know you have the Hartwell woman and her daughter. I know what you found at the crash site, and I know you're thinking about being a hero." Marcus picked up the phone. "What do you want, Wade?" "Simple. Send out the woman and the girl. Walk away. And maybe I'll forget this whole night ever happened." "And if I don't?" Wade laughed, the same cruel laugh that Marcus remembered from their encounters in town. "Then I come in there and take them. And you die trying to stop me. Your choice, soldier boy. You've got 5 minutes to decide." The line went dead. Marcus looked at Sarah, who was still holding Lily. At Shadow, who was already rising to his feet, hackles raised. At the door that separated them from whatever army Wade Benson had brought through the blizzard. 5 minutes. 5 minutes to prepare for war. Marcus moved before the phone hit the table. "Sarah, can you stand?" "I don't know. Maybe. Why? What's happening?" "Wade Benson is outside with men. They're coming for you." Sarah's face went white. "Wade? But he's a deputy. He's supposed to protect people." "He's the one who cut your brake lines." The words hung in the air like poison. Lily looked up from her mother's arms, confusion written across her small face. "The policeman hurt Mama." Marcus didn't answer. He was already moving through the cabin, pulling open drawers, grabbing supplies. Shadow paced beside him, sensing the danger, every muscle coiled and ready. "Marcus," Sarah's voice was stronger now, steadier. "There's something you need to know about Harrison, about what he found. Tell me while I work. The land, his land, there's something underneath it. He showed me the surveys before he died. Lithium, one of the largest deposits in the country, worth hundreds of millions, maybe more." Marcus stopped. "Lithium. For batteries, electric cars, technology. He said people had been trying to buy his land for years, but he wouldn't sell. He loved that property. His grandfather homesteaded it." Sarah's voice cracked. "He told me they were pressuring him, threatening him, and then one day he gave me an envelope and said if anything happened to him, I should give it to someone I trusted." "Where's the envelope now?" "My house, hidden in Lily's closet behind the loose board." "What's in it?" "Everything. Surveys, documents, names. He said it would bring down half the county government." Marcus felt the pieces clicking together. Harrison's sudden death, the pressure to sell the inherited land, Sarah's convenient accident, the woman in the snow who'd tried to kill him. This wasn't just about money. This was about power, about people who'd built their lives on corruption and couldn't afford to have it exposed. And now those people were outside his cabin with guns. "Mama, I'm scared." Lily's small voice cut through the tension. Sarah pulled her closer, but Marcus could see the fear in the mother's eyes too. "Lily," Marcus crouched down to the girl's level. "Remember how you walked through the blizzard to find me? Remember how brave you were?" She nodded, tears glistening. "I need you to be that brave again. Can you do that?" Another nod, smaller this time. "Good girl. Now I need you and your mama to go into the back room. There's a closet there. Get inside, close the door, and don't come out until I tell you it's safe, no matter what you hear. Okay." "What about Shadow?" Marcus looked at his dog. Shadow was standing at the door now, growling low in his throat. "Shadow's going to help me keep you safe." 3 minutes had passed, maybe less. Marcus helped Sarah to her feet, and Lily ducked under her mother's arm to support her weight. Together they moved toward the back of the cabin. "Marcus," Sarah stopped at the hallway entrance. "Why are you doing this? You don't know us. You don't owe us anything." "I owe myself," Marcus said quietly. "I've been dying in this cabin for 2 years. Your daughter gave me a reason to live again." Sarah held his gaze for a long moment. Then she turned and disappeared into the darkness with Lily. 4 minutes. Marcus grabbed his hunting rifle from the closet. 12 rounds. Not enough if Wade had brought a small army, but enough to make them think twice. He checked the windows, confirmed the back door was barred, and positioned himself behind the heavy oak table he'd flipped on its side. Shadow took position beside him, silent now, deadly. 5 minutes. The knock came exactly on time. 3 slow, deliberate pounds. "Cole, time's up. Open the door." Marcus didn't respond. "Don't be stupid, soldier boy. There's 8 of us out here. You can't win this." 8. Worse than Marcus had hoped. Better than he'd feared. "I've got a rifle," Marcus called back. "First man through that door dies. Second one probably does too. You want to explain to their families why they died for some rich man's lithium mine." Silence. Then Wade's voice, angrier now. "You don't understand what you're messing with. This is bigger than you, bigger than me. There are people in the state capitol who need this to go away. Politicians, investors. You expose this, they'll destroy you." "They can try. They'll take your dog, put him down, say he's dangerous." Marcus's jaw tightened. Beside him, Shadow's growl deepened. "They'll dig up Afghanistan. Every mistake you made, every life you lost. They'll put it all over the news. The famous Navy SEAL who cracked under pressure and got his team killed. That's a lie. Doesn't matter if it's true. Matters if people believe it. And they will, Marcus. They always believe the worst." Marcus said nothing. His finger rested on the trigger guard. "Last chance. Send out the woman and the girl. Walk away. Keep the land. Keep your dog. Keep your sad little life. Just forget this night ever happened. Wade. Yeah. Go to hell." The first bullet came through the window. Marcus was already moving, rolling behind the table as glass exploded inward. Shadow flattened himself to the floor, trained instincts overriding fear. A second shot. A third. They were trying to flush him out, force him to show himself. Marcus waited. The front door burst open. A man rushed in, rifle raised, sweeping the room for targets. Marcus put a bullet through his shoulder before he could take 3 steps. The man screamed and fell, his weapon clattering across the floor. "One down," someone shouted from outside. "He's armed. I told you he was armed, you idiots. Cover the back." Marcus grabbed the fallen man's rifle. Now he had 2 weapons. Better odds. "Cole." Wade's voice furious now. "You just shot a county employee. That's attempted murder. Self-defense. He broke into my home." A second man appeared in the doorway. Shadow lunged before Marcus could react, 90 pounds of fury slamming into the intruder. The man went down screaming, trying to fight off the dog's attack. "Release!" Shadow released and retreated, but the damage was done. The man lay writhing on the floor, his arm torn and bleeding. 2 down. Marcus muttered. 6 to go. The response was immediate. Gunfire erupted from multiple directions, bullets punching through the cabin walls. Marcus pressed himself flat, covering his head as wood splinters flew. Shadow down. The dog dropped instantly, pressing himself to the floor. The shooting stopped. In the sudden silence, Marcus could hear men moving outside, repositioning. "They're going around back." Sarah's voice came from the hallway, thin with fear. "I can hear them. Stay down. Don't move." Marcus crawled toward the back of the cabin, keeping below the window line. Through the rear door, he could hear heavy footsteps, the crunch of snow. They were going to try to breach from both sides. Marcus looked at the propane tank connected to his stove. 20 gallons. Enough to heat the cabin through winter. Enough to create a very effective distraction. He grabbed the tank and disconnected it from the line. Heavy. He could barely lift it with cold-numbed fingers, but he dragged it toward the back door, positioned it just inside. "I know what you're thinking," Wade called from the front. "Don't do anything stupid." Define stupid. That propane tank. You blow it, you blow yourself up too. Maybe, maybe not. Question is, are you willing to risk it? Silence. You're bluffing. Try me. More silence. Marcus could hear the men conferring outside, voices low and urgent. He'd bought himself time, but not much. They'd figure out another approach soon. "Mama?" Lily's voice, small, terrified, coming from the back room. "Baby, stay quiet." "Mama, there's a man at the window. He's looking at me." Marcus's blood went cold. He moved faster than he'd moved in years, covering the distance to the back room in seconds. A figure was pressed against the window, trying to force it open. Inside, Sarah had pulled Lily behind her, shielding her daughter with her own body. Marcus didn't think. He raised the rifle and fired through the glass. The figure fell. 3 down, he said, but his voice was shaking now. That had been too close. Way too close. "Cole?" Wade's voice almost amused. "Nice shot. But you're running out of bullets, and I'm not running out of men." He was right. Marcus had maybe 8 rounds left between the 2 rifles. At this rate, they'd overwhelm him in minutes. He needed a different approach. "Wade, let's talk." "Now you want to talk?" "After shooting 3 of my guys. They're not dead. Wounded. I could have killed them. That's supposed to make me feel better. It's supposed to make you think. I don't want more bloodshed. Neither do you. Not really. You're not a killer, Wade. You're a bully and a coward, but you're not a killer." The words hung in the freezing air. "You don't know anything about me. I know you were 2 years behind me in high school. I know you used to follow me and my buddies around like a lost puppy until we told you to get lost. I know you joined the sheriff's department because your daddy got you the job, not because you earned it. Shut up. I know you've spent your whole life being second best. Second to me. Second to anyone with actual talent or courage. And now you're mixed up in something bigger than you can handle, working for people who'll throw you under the bus the second things go wrong." I said, "Shut up." Think about it, Wade. Harrison's dead. Sarah was supposed to be dead. I was supposed to be dead. How long before you're dead too? How long before you become a loose end they need to tie up? The silence stretched longer this time. "I didn't kill anyone," Wade finally said. His voice was different now, younger, scared. "I didn't know they were going to. I just wanted the money. They said it would be easy. Scare the old man, get him to sell. Nobody was supposed to get hurt. But people did get hurt. Harrison's dead, Wade, and Sarah almost died tonight. Her daughter almost died. I didn't know they'd go that far. Then help me stop it. Help me bring them down. It's not too late to do the right thing." Another long pause. Marcus could hear his own heartbeat pounding in his ears. "I can't," Wade said. "You don't understand. If I turn on them, they'll kill me. They'll kill my whole family. I'll protect you. I'll protect your family. I give you my word. Your word. The word of a washed-up SEAL who couldn't even save his own team." Marcus closed his eyes. The blow landed exactly where Wade intended. "You're right," Marcus said quietly. "I couldn't save them. I carry that failure every day. Every single day. But that's exactly why I won't fail again. Not tonight. Not these people. Silence. Then Wade's voice, barely audible. There's a folder. On my laptop. In my truck. Everything's in there. Names, dates, bank accounts. I kept it as insurance. Why are you telling me this? Because you're right. They're going to kill me anyway, sooner or later. Might as well go down doing one right thing. Marcus heard movement outside. Shouting. Wade! What are you doing? Get away from the door. It's over, Frank. Wade's voice stronger now. I'm done. You're done when I say you're done, boys, grab him. More shouting. Sounds of a struggle. Then a gunshot. Marcus threw open the front door, rifle raised. In the snow outside, Wade Benson lay crumpled on the ground, blood spreading beneath him. Standing over him was a large man in an expensive coat, a pistol still smoking in his hand. Damn fool, the man said. Should have kept his mouth shut. He turned toward Marcus, and Marcus recognized him. Frank Morrison, county commissioner, one of the most powerful men in the region. Cole, I was hoping we could resolve this without meeting face to face. You just murdered a deputy. I just executed a traitor. There's a difference. Morrison smiled. It didn't reach his eyes. Now here's what's going to happen. You're going to put down that rifle. My men are going to come inside and collect Mrs. Hartwell and her daughter. And you're going to forget any of this ever happened. Or I kill you, kill them, burn this cabin to the ground, and blame the whole thing on a domestic dispute gone wrong. Tragic story. Unstable veteran snaps during blizzard. Kills woman and child before turning gun on himself. The ranger station knows I'm here. I activated a beacon earlier. In this storm, they won't reach you for hours. We'll be long gone by then. Marcus calculated. 3 men down. Wade down. Morrison made 5. That left 4 others plus Morrison himself. 5 against 1. Bad odds. Then Shadow stepped out of the cabin and stood beside him. 5 against 2. That dog moves, I shoot it first, Morrison said. Then you'd better be fast, because he's faster. Morrison's confident facade flickered. He'd clearly heard stories about Shadow, about what he'd done in Afghanistan, about what he'd done tonight. This is pointless, Cole. You can't win. Even if you take down 2 or 3 of us, the rest will finish you. And then the Hartwells die anyway. Maybe. So why fight? Why die for people you don't even know? Marcus thought about the question. Really thought about it. Because my whole life I've been trying to figure out what I'm for. What's my purpose? What makes me worth something? He tightened his grip on the rifle. Tonight, I figured it out. I'm not here to fight wars or win medals or prove how tough I am. I'm here to stand between people like you and people like them. That's it. That's all. And if I die doing that, then at least I die for something that matters. Morrison stared at him for a long moment. Then he raised his pistol. Noble speech. Stupid, but noble. A shot rang out. Marcus flinched. But he wasn't hit. Morrison stumbled forward, a look of surprise on his face. He turned slowly, revealing a red bloom spreading across his back. Behind him, barely visible through the snow, a figure emerged. A woman in a ranger's uniform, rifle raised. "Federal agent," she shouted. "Everyone drop your weapons now." Morrison's men froze. Then one by one they let their guns fall into the snow. Morrison himself sank to his knees, still staring at Marcus with dying eyes. Who called? "The woman you sent to kill me," Marcus said. "She activated the beacon I gave her. Led them right to us." Morrison laughed once. Blood bubbled at his lips. "Played us. All along." He fell face first into the snow and didn't move again. The agent approached, still covering the remaining men with her rifle. "Marcus Cole." "Yeah." "Agent Rebecca Torres, FBI. We've been investigating Morrison's operation for months. Your beacon was exactly the break we needed." "How did you find us so fast?" "We were already in position, waiting for evidence of criminal activity." She smiled grimly. "I'd say murdering a deputy in cold blood qualifies." Behind Marcus, the cabin door opened. Sarah appeared, supporting herself on the frame, Lily clinging to her leg. "Is it over?" Sarah asked. Marcus looked at the bodies in the snow, at the men being handcuffed, at Shadow still standing guard beside him. Yeah, he said. It's over. But even as he said the words, he knew they weren't entirely true. Morrison was dead. Wade was dead. But the conspiracy Harrison had uncovered went deeper than two men. Sarah had said there were names in that envelope. Politicians. Investors. People who wouldn't simply accept that their operation had been exposed. This battle was over. The war was just beginning. Sarah limped toward him, Lily still holding her hand. When she reached Marcus, she did something unexpected. She put her arms around him and held on. "Thank you," she whispered. "Thank you for saving us." Marcus stood frozen for a moment. He couldn't remember the last time someone had touched him with kindness, with gratitude. Then slowly he returned the embrace. "Thank your daughter," he said. "She's the one who found me." Lily tugged at his coat. Marcus looked down to find those impossible green eyes staring up at him. "Does this mean you're coming to my birthday party?" she asked. Despite everything, Marcus laughed. "Yeah, kid, I'll come to your birthday party." "And Shadow." "Shadow too." Lily grinned. Then she hugged his leg tight. Agent Torres approached, phone in hand. "We've got medical transport en route, 30 minutes out. Mrs. Hartwell, we're going to need that envelope you mentioned." Sarah nodded. "I'll tell you where to find it. Everything you need to bring them down." "Every single one of them," Torres promised. Marcus looked up at the sky. The blizzard was finally beginning to ease. Through breaks in the clouds, he could see stars. Stars he hadn't noticed in 2 years. "Cole." Torres was studying him with professional interest. "We could use someone with your skills. This investigation is going to take months, maybe longer. We need people who can handle themselves in the field." "I'm retired." "So I heard. I also heard you took down 4 armed men tonight with a hunting rifle and a dog." "5 if you count the woman in the snow." Torres raised an eyebrow. "That was you. She tried to kill me first." "Fair enough." Torres holstered her weapon. "Think about it. We pay well, benefits are decent, and you'd be making a real difference." Marcus looked at Sarah and Lily, at Shadow. "I'll think about it." The medical helicopter arrived 28 minutes later. They loaded Sarah in first, then Lily, who refused to let go of Shadow's collar until Marcus promised they'd see each other again. "Tomorrow," she demanded. "Tomorrow." "You promise." Marcus knelt down and took her small hand in his. "I promise." It was the second promise he'd made to this girl in one night, and he intended to keep both of them. The helicopter lifted off, carrying the Hartwells toward the hospital. Marcus watched until the lights disappeared into the darkness. Then he turned and walked back toward his cabin, Shadow at his side. The door hung open, bullet holes marking the walls. Glass covered the floor. It looked like a war zone. It felt like home. For the first time in 2 years, Marcus Cole knew exactly who he was and what he needed to do. Tomorrow he would see Lily and Sarah. Tomorrow he would help Torres bring down the conspiracy. Tomorrow he would start building something new. But tonight he was going to sleep without nightmares. He was sure of it. Marcus didn't sleep that night. He sat in his ruined cabin, Shadow's head resting on his knee, and watched the dawn creep through the bullet holes in his walls. The blizzard had finally exhausted itself, leaving behind a world buried in white silence. His phone buzzed. A text from Agent Torres. "Hospital, 7 a.m. Sarah's asking for you." Marcus looked at the time. 5:47 a.m. He had just over an hour. He spent it cleaning his weapons, feeding Shadow, and trying not to think about how close he'd come to dying. How close they'd all come. When the hour was up, he loaded Shadow into his truck and drove toward town. The roads were barely passable. Snowplows had been working through the night, but drifts still blocked half the highway. Marcus pushed through anyway, his old truck groaning in protest. He reached the hospital at 7:03. Torres met him in the lobby. She looked like she hadn't slept, either dark circles under her eyes, coffee cup in hand. "She's stable," Torres said before Marcus could ask. "Both legs fractured, mild hypothermia, some internal bruising, but she'll recover fully." "And Lily?" "Minor frostbite on her fingers. They're watching her, but she should be released today. Torres paused. She keeps asking about Shadow. I brought him. He's in the truck. Good, that'll help. They walked toward the elevator together. Torres punched the button for the third floor. We recovered the envelope, she said. Sarah told us exactly where to find it. What's in it? Everything Harrison promised. Geological surveys confirming the lithium deposit. Bank records showing payments to county officials. Correspondence between Morrison and 3 state senators. And the real prize, a recorded conversation between Morrison and his silent partner. Who's the partner? Torres's jaw tightened. Judge William Crane, Chief Justice of the State Supreme Court. Marcus stopped walking. You're kidding. I wish I was. Crane's been facilitating the land grabs for years. Fast-tracking cases, dismissing lawsuits, burying complaints. Morrison couldn't have done any of this without him. Can you arrest a Supreme Court justice? Not easily, and not without more evidence. What we have is damning, but Crane's lawyers will argue it was obtained illegally, that Harrison was mentally incompetent, that the recordings are fake. Torres shook her head. We need someone to testify. Someone inside the conspiracy who can corroborate everything. Wade's dead. Morrison's dead. Who's left? That's what I'm hoping Sarah can help us figure out. They reached Sarah's room. Marcus hesitated at the door. What's wrong? Torres asked. Nothing. Just, it's been a while since I visited anyone in a hospital. Take your time. Marcus pushed open the door. Sarah was sitting up in bed, Lily curled beside her under the blankets. When she saw Marcus, her face transformed. You came. I promised. Lily's head popped up. Shadow. Did you bring Shadow? He's downstairs. Hospital rules. That's stupid. Shadow's a hero. Heroes should go wherever they want. Marcus couldn't argue with that logic. He pulled a chair beside the bed and sat down. How are you feeling? Like I got hit by a truck. Sarah attempted a smile. Actually worse. The truck might have hurt less. They said you'll recover fully. I know. The doctors have been wonderful. Her smile faded. Marcus, Agent Torres told me about Morrison. About Wade. I still can't believe. Wade used to come into the elder care facility sometimes. He seemed so normal. Evil usually does. Sarah reached for his hand. Her grip was stronger than he expected. There's something I didn't tell the agent. Something I've been remembering. Torres stepped closer. What is it? The night before Harrison died, he was agitated, more than usual. He kept talking about a meeting, something he'd overheard. He said the big man was coming. Those were his exact words. The big man. Morrison. No, Harrison knew Morrison. He would have used his name. This was someone else, someone higher. Sarah closed her eyes, concentrating. He said the big man had hands in everything. Police, courts, politicians. He said nobody could touch him because he owned them all. Judge Crane, Torres murmured. Maybe. But there was something else. Harrison said the big man had a weakness, a secret that could destroy him. He said it was hidden in plain sight, right under everyone's noses. Did he say what it was? No. He got confused after that. Started mixing up the present and the past. But I remember his exact words before he fell asleep. He said, "Follow the children." The room went silent. "Follow the children," Marcus repeated. What does that mean? I don't know. I've been trying to figure it out all night. Harrison had a lot of bad days near the end. Maybe it was just confusion. Or maybe it wasn't. Torres was typing rapidly on her phone. Judge Crane, children, let me run some searches. Marcus looked at Lily, who had fallen asleep again against her mother's shoulder. Such a small thing, so fragile, and yet she'd walked through a blizzard to save the person she loved. Follow the children. Sarah, I need to ask you something important. Anything. The people behind this, they're not going to stop just because Morrison's dead. They've invested too much. They'll send someone else. I know. You and Lily aren't safe here. Not in this hospital. Not in this town. Nowhere in this county. Sarah's grip on his hand tightened. What are you saying? I'm saying I want to protect you, both of you, until this is over. Marcus, you've already done so much. I can't ask you to. You're not asking. I'm offering. Their eyes met. Something passed between them, unspoken but understood. Okay, Sarah whispered. Okay. Torres looked up from her phone. Her face had gone pale. You both need to see this. She held out the phone. On the screen was a news article from 12 years ago. Prominent judges' adopted children speak at charity gala. The photo showed Judge Crane standing with his arm around two teenagers, a boy and a girl, both smiling for the camera. Crane adopted those kids through a private agency, Torres said, an agency that was shut down 3 years later for irregularities. What kind of irregularities? The official report was sealed, but I have contacts who've seen it. The agency was accused of trafficking, taking children from vulnerable families, falsifying paperwork, selling them to wealthy buyers. Marcus felt his stomach turn. Are you saying Crane bought his children? I'm saying the agency he used was dirty. Whether he knew about it or not is another question. Torres scrolled further. But here's where it gets interesting. The agency's founder, a woman named Eleanor Vance, supposedly died in a car accident right before the investigation concluded. Supposedly. Her body was never recovered. The official story is that she drove off a bridge during a storm. Sound familiar? Sarah's face had gone white. They killed her, just like they tried to kill me. Maybe, or maybe she faked her death and disappeared. Torres pocketed her phone. Either way, if we can find Eleanor Vance, or find out what really happened to her, we might have everything we need to bring Crane down. Where do we start? The agency's records were destroyed in a fire. Convenient. But there's one person who might still have information. Torres paused. Crane's daughter, the one he adopted. She's 24 now, lives in Portland, and according to her social media, she's been asking questions about her biological parents. You think she knows something? I think she suspects something, and I think she might be willing to talk to the right person. Marcus stood up. Then let's go to Portland. Not that simple. Crane has people everywhere. The moment we start moving openly, he'll know. And if he thinks his daughter might turn on him... Torres didn't finish the sentence. She didn't have to. So what do? We need a distraction. Something to keep Crane's attention focused somewhere else while we make contact with the daughter. Lily stirred in her sleep. Mama, I'm here, baby. Go back to sleep. I want to see Shadow. Sarah stroked her daughter's hair. Soon, sweetheart. Soon. Marcus watched them together, mother and child. The bond that had driven Lily through a blizzard. The love that had kept Sarah alive in that frozen car. I'll be the distraction, he said. Torres raised an eyebrow. How bo? The land. Harrison's land. Crane needs it to complete his lithium deal. What if I announced I was selling? Go on. I contact Crane's people. Tell them I'm ready to make a deal. Set up a meeting to discuss terms. While they're focused on me, you get to Portland and talk to the daughter. That's incredibly dangerous. So is everything else we've done in the last 24 hours. Torres considered for a long moment. Then she nodded slowly. It could work, but you'd need backup. Someone to watch your back. I have Shadow. A dog, no matter how capable, isn't enough. Then come up with something. You're FBI. You've got resources. Resources that take time to mobilize. Crane has people inside the bureau. Any official request goes through channels he can monitor. Torres began pacing. We need someone off the books. Someone with military training who owes no loyalty to anyone in Crane's network. Marcus thought about it. His old SEAL team was scattered across the country, some still active, some retired, some dead. But there was one name that kept coming back to him. I might know someone. So, who? A guy I served with. Daniel Reyes. Best operator I ever worked with. He left the teams after a disagreement with command. Last I heard, he was running a private security firm in Denver. Can you trust him? With my life. I already have more times than I can count. Then make the call. Marcus stepped out into the hallway, phone in hand. He hadn't spoken to Danny in 2 years. Not since the funeral for their fallen brothers. Not since Marcus had walked away from everything. The phone rang 3 times. "Yeah," Danny's voice rough and familiar. "Danny, it's Marcus." Silence. Then, "Cole, Jesus Christ, I thought you were dead." "Not yet, but I might be soon if you don't help me." "Talk to me." Marcus talked. He told Danny everything from Lily's arrival at his cabin, to the firefight with Morrison's men, to the conspiracy that reached all the way to the state Supreme Court. When he finished, there was a long pause. "So let me get this straight," Danny finally said. "You want me to drop everything, drive to Montana, and help you take on a corrupt judge who owns half the state government?" "That's about right." Another pause. Then Danny laughed. "Hell, Marcus. I was getting bored anyway. Give me 12 hours. Make it 8. You always were a demanding son of a bitch. 8 hours. I'll bring my A-team. Danny, one more thing. Yeah. This is off books. Completely. If it goes wrong, I know the drill. We were never here. You were acting alone. Plausible deniability all around. Thanks, brother. Save it. Thank me when we're drinking beers over Crane's political grave." The line went dead. Marcus walked back into Sarah's room. Torres and Sarah both looked up expectantly. 8 hours, Marcus said. Then we move. Torres nodded. I'll coordinate with my contacts in Portland. We need to approach Crane's daughter carefully. One wrong word and she might tip off her father. Or she might help us willingly, if she really suspects something about her adoption. Either way, we don't have much time. Once Crane realizes Morrison is dead and the FBI is involved, he'll start destroying evidence and eliminating witnesses. Then let's not give him the chance. A nurse appeared in the doorway. Excuse me, Mrs. Hartwell, your daughter has been cleared for discharge, but we'd like to keep you under observation for at least another day. Sarah shook her head. No, I'm leaving with my daughter. Ma'am, with your injuries. I understand the risks, but I'm not letting Lily out of my sight. Not now, not ever again. The nurse looked at Torres, who shrugged. She's an adult. Her choice. Fine, but I need you to sign discharge papers. As the nurse left, Sarah began struggling to sit up. Marcus moved to help her, supporting her weight as she swung her legs over the side of the bed. Easy, take it slow. I've been taking it slow my whole life. Sarah's jaw was set with determination. Not anymore. Lily woke up fully rubbing her eyes. Are we going somewhere, Mama? Yes, baby, we're going somewhere safe. With Marcus and Shadow. Sarah looked at Marcus. He looked back at her. Yes, she said. With Marcus and Shadow. Lily's face broke into a smile. Then I'm not scared. Marcus felt something shift in his chest, something warm, something he'd thought he'd lost forever. Let's go see Shadow, he said. They made their way out of the hospital slowly, Sarah leaning heavily on a wheelchair that Marcus pushed, while Torres walked ahead, scanning for threats. The parking lot was half empty, the morning sun glinting off snow-covered cars. Shadow saw them coming and began barking immediately. Not his warning bark, but something joyful, something excited. Lily broke away from her mother and ran toward the truck. Shadow, Shadow, I missed you. The dog's whole body wagged as Lily threw her arms around his neck. He licked her face, whining with happiness, tail beating against the truck bed. They're good together, Sarah said quietly. Yeah, they are. Marcus, I need to tell you something. What is it? Last night when I was trapped in the car, when I thought I was going to die, Sarah's voice caught. I prayed. I haven't prayed since my husband died, but I prayed that someone would find Lily, that someone would take care of her if I couldn't. She found me. I know. And I think that wasn't an accident. Sarah reached out and took his hand. I think you were meant to be there, in that cabin, at that exact moment. I think some things happen for a reason. Marcus didn't know what to believe about fate or destiny or divine intervention, but standing here watching Lily laugh with Shadow, feeling Sarah's hand in his, he thought maybe she was right. Maybe some things did happen for a reason. We should move, Torres said, approaching. Crane's people will be looking for you. The longer we stay in one place. A car pulled into the parking lot. Fast. Too fast. Marcus reacted instantly. He shoved Sarah behind the truck, drew his weapon, and positioned himself between the approaching vehicle and the people he was protecting. Shadow guard. The dog leaped from the truck bed and stood beside Lily. Hackles raised, teeth bared. The car screeched to a halt 20 feet away. The driver's door opened. A woman stepped out, hands raised. She was young, mid-20s, with dark hair and striking features. She looked terrified. "Please don't shoot. I'm not armed. I'm not with them." "Who are you?" Torres demanded, weapon drawn. "My name is Emily Crane. Judge Crane is my father, and I know everything." Marcus and Torres exchanged glances. "How did you find us?" Torres asked. "I've been tracking Morrison's communications for months. I saw the reports about last night, about what happened at the cabin." Emily's voice was shaking. "I know what they did, what they've been doing for years, and I know about Eleanor Vance." "What do you know about Vance?" "She didn't die. The car accident was staged. My father paid her to disappear." "Where is she now?" Emily reached into her pocket slowly, carefully. She pulled out a folded piece of paper. "She's here. This is the address. She's been living under a false name in Canada for 12 years. Emily's eyes filled with tears. "She can testify to everything. The trafficking, the murders, all of it. But she won't talk to police or FBI. She'll only talk to one person." "Who?" "Me. Her biological daughter." The world seemed to stop. "You're Eleanor Vance's daughter," Torres said slowly. "I was 3 years old when she sold me to Judge Crane. I didn't know until 6 months ago when I found her letters in my father's safe." Emily's tears spilled over. "My real mother sold me, and my adoptive father has been destroying lives for decades. I want to bring them both down." Marcus lowered his weapon. "Get in the truck." "Marcus," Torres started. "She came alone. She's unarmed, and she's offering us the one thing we need to end this." Torres hesitated. Then she nodded. "Fine, but she rides with me." Emily climbed into Torres's vehicle. Marcus helped Sarah into his truck, lifted Lily into the back seat beside Shadow, and started the engine. As they pulled out of the parking lot, Marcus caught Emily's eye in his rearview mirror. She was young, scared, betrayed by everyone she'd ever trusted. She reminded him of someone. He looked at Lily, who was already falling asleep against Shadow's warm fur. She reminded him of her. "Where are we going?" Sarah asked. "Somewhere safe. Then Canada." "Marcus, I can't cross the border. The FBI needs me for the investigation. Torres will handle it, but Emily's right. If Eleanor Vance can testify, this whole thing falls apart." "And if it's a trap," Marcus gripped the steering wheel tighter, "then I'll do what I always do, which is whatever it takes." They drove in silence after that, north toward the border, toward answers, toward justice, and toward a confrontation that none of them could have predicted. Because 200 miles away, in his private chambers, Judge William Crane was watching the same hospital security footage that Emily had used to find them. He picked up his phone and dialed a number. "They're moving. The Seal, the Hartwell woman, and my daughter." A pause. "Yes, all of them." Another pause. "I understand. No witnesses." He hung up and stared out his window at the snow-covered mountains. "I'm sorry, Emily," he whispered to no one. "But you've left me no choice." They crossed the border at a checkpoint that Danny's contacts had arranged. No questions, no records, no trail. The address Emily had given them led to a small town called Revelstoke, nestled deep in the Canadian Rockies. It took 6 hours of driving through snow-choked mountain roads to reach it. Marcus hadn't spoken much during the journey. His mind kept cycling through the mission, analyzing angles, anticipating threats. Old habits, the kind that had kept him alive through 3 combat deployments. Sarah sat beside him, Lily asleep in the back seat with Shadow. Torres followed in her own vehicle with Emily. "You're thinking too hard," Sarah said quietly. "Someone has to. We're going to be okay, I believe that. Belief doesn't stop bullets." Sarah was silent for a moment. Then, "What happened to you in Afghanistan? You've never told me." Marcus's hands tightened on the wheel. It's not a pretty story. I didn't expect it to be. He drove another mile before answering. We were protecting a village. Taliban had been terrorizing the locals for months, killing anyone who cooperated with American forces. We were supposed to establish a safe zone. What went wrong? Everything. Marcus's voice dropped. There was a girl, Amira, 10 years old. Her father had been helping us with intelligence. The Taliban found out. Sarah reached over and touched his arm. You don't have to. I need to. Marcus took a breath. They sent a suicide bomber, a kid younger than Amira. We didn't see him coming until it was too late. The blast killed 3 of my men and wounded Shadow. Amira was caught in the secondary collapse. Marcus, I dug through the rubble with my bare hands. I found her, but she was trapped, pinned under concrete. She kept saying my name, asking me to help her. And I tried. God, I tried. But I couldn't move the debris fast enough. What happened? She died 30 seconds before the rescue team arrived with heavy equipment. 30 seconds. Marcus's voice cracked. She died holding my hand, asking me why I couldn't save her. Sarah's eyes glistened with tears. That wasn't your fault. Tell that to her father. Tell that to my men who died. Tell that to the families who got folded flags instead of their sons coming home. Marcus, you did everything you could. It wasn't enough. It's never enough. They drove in silence after that. The mountains rose around them like frozen giants, and the road narrowed to a single lane carved through snowdrifts. Finally, Marcus spoke again. When Lily showed up at my door covered in ice begging me to save her mother, I saw Amira. I saw a second chance. A chance to do something right for once. And you did. You saved us. The job's not finished yet. Sarah squeezed his arm. It will be. And when it is, I want you to know something. What? You're not the broken man you think you are. I've seen broken. My husband gave up after his accident at the mine. He stopped fighting, stopped caring. That's broken. She paused. You never stopped fighting, even when you wanted to. That's strength, Marcus. Real strength. Before Marcus could respond, his phone buzzed. Danny's voice came through the speaker. Cole, we've got a problem. Talk to me. Picked up some chatter on local frequencies. Someone's been asking about you in Revelstoke. Descriptions match Crane's security detail. How far ahead of us? Maybe 2 hours. They're moving fast. Marcus swore under his breath. They knew where we were going. Looks like it. Either your route was tracked or someone talked. Marcus glanced at the rearview mirror. Torres's car was still behind them, Emily visible in the passenger seat. The daughter, she could have tipped them off. You think she's playing us? I don't know what to think, but we need to get to Eleanor Vance before they do. Copy that. I'm rerouting to intercept. Should reach Revelstoke in 40 minutes. Danny, if Crane's people get to Vance first. They won't. I've got 3 operators with me. We'll secure the location. Watch yourself. Always do. Danny out. Marcus accelerated, pushing the truck harder through the mountain roads. What's happening? Sarah asked. Crane knows where we're going. His people are ahead of us. How? I don't know yet, but I intend to find out. 20 minutes later, they reached the outskirts of Revelstoke. Marcus pulled off the road and signaled for Torres to stop behind him. He got out and walked back to her car, Shadow following at his heels. We've got company, he told Torres through her window. Crane's security is already here. Torres's face hardened. I was afraid of this. Someone tipped them off. The question is who? They both looked at Emily. It wasn't me, she said immediately. I swear, I want my father brought down more than anyone. Then explain how they knew. I don't know. Maybe they tracked my car. Maybe they hacked my phone. I don't know. Torres pulled out her phone and ran a diagnostic. Her expression shifted. She's right. There's tracking software embedded in her device. Military grade. They've been following her for months. My father, Emily whispered. He's been watching me this whole time. Marcus made a decision. Give me the phone. Emily handed it over. Marcus dropped it on the ground and crushed it under his boot. From now on, no electronic devices. Nothing they can trace. What about Vance? Torres asked. Danny's moving to secure her location. We need to get there before Crane's people realize we've gone dark. They abandoned Torres's car and crammed into Marcus's truck. It was tight, but it would have to do. Marcus drove fast, navigating the unfamiliar streets from memory after one glance at the map. Shadow sat alert in the back, sensing the tension. Lily woke up and immediately reached for Sarah. Mama, where are we? Canada, baby. We're almost there. Is the bad man still chasing us? Sarah looked at Marcus. He kept his eyes on the road. Not for much longer, Marcus said. I promise. The address led them to a small house at the end of a dead-end street. It looked ordinary, unremarkable, the kind of place someone would choose if they wanted to disappear. Danny's vehicle was already parked outside. Marcus pulled up behind it and killed the engine. Stay here, he told Sarah. Torres, you're with me. Emily, you come too. Shadow guard. The dog immediately positioned himself between Lily and the door, his body tense and ready. Marcus approached the house with Torres flanking him. Emily followed a few steps behind, her face pale with fear. The front door was open. Marcus drew his weapon and entered first. The hallway was dark, silent. He moved through, methodically clearing each room. In the kitchen, he found Danny. His old friend was kneeling on the floor, applying pressure to a wound on another man's chest. Blood pooled beneath them. Danny, report. They got here 5 minutes before us. Danny's voice was grim. 4 hostiles. We took down 3, but they grabbed the woman. Vance. They took her. Along with one of my men, Carter. They used him as a hostage to get out. Where did they go? Don't know. They had a vehicle waiting. SUV, black, no plates. Torres was already on her phone, calling in resources. Marcus looked at the wounded man on the floor. He gonna make it. Bullet missed the artery. He'll live if we get him to a hospital. I'll call for extraction. Torres stepped outside. Marcus turned to Emily. Your father's people. Where would they take her? I don't know. He has properties everywhere. Safe houses, offices, vacation homes. Think, if he needed somewhere close, somewhere secure, where would it be? Emily closed her eyes, concentrating. There's a place, an old ski lodge about 30 miles north. He bought it years ago through a shell company. He uses it for private meetings when he doesn't want records. Could you find it? Maybe. I was there once when I was 16. He didn't know I followed him. Then you're coming with me. Marcus, Danny started. No, this ends tonight. Crane has been running from consequences his whole life. Not anymore. You can't go in alone. I won't be alone. Marcus looked down at the wounded operator. Stay here. Get your man to safety. If I'm not back in 3 hours, call every contact you have and burn Crane's world to the ground. Danny held his gaze for a long moment. Then he nodded. 3 hours, not a minute more. Marcus headed back to the truck. Sarah met him at the door. What's happening? They took Vance, but we know where they're going. You mean, I need Emily to guide me, but you and Lily are staying here with Danny. No. And the word came out hard and fast. Sarah, this isn't negotiable. You're right, it isn't. Sarah's eyes blazed with determination. Lily and I didn't survive that blizzard to hide while you risk your life alone. We're a part of this now, all of us. This is going to be dangerous. More dangerous than freezing to death in a crashed car. More dangerous than walking 3 miles through a blizzard at 6 years old. Sarah shook her head. We're not fragile, Marcus. We're survivors. Lily appeared behind her mother. Shadow stood beside her. I want to help, Lily said quietly. Shadow wants to help too. Marcus looked at this family, this unlikely team that had formed in the middle of chaos. A wounded mother. A fearless child. A traumatized dog who'd found his purpose again. Fine, he said. But you follow my orders. Every single one. Yes, sir, Lily said solemnly. Despite everything, Marcus felt his lips twitch toward a smile. They loaded back into the truck. Emily rode in front, guiding Marcus through the mountain roads. Torres stayed behind to coordinate backup. The ski lodge was exactly where Emily remembered, isolated, surrounded by forest, accessible by a single road, and guarded by 4 armed men. Marcus stopped the truck half a mile out and assessed the situation through binoculars. 4 visible, probably more inside. "How do we get past them?" Emily asked. "We don't. I do." Marcus turned to face the group. "Sarah, I need you to take the truck around to the east side. There's a service road that leads to the back of the property. Wait there." "What are you going to do?" "Create a distraction." He opened the door and Shadow jumped out beside him. "The guards will focus on me. When they do, Emily, you take Sarah and Lily inside through the back. Find Vance. Get her out. And you?" "I'll be fine." Marcus checked his weapon. "I've been in worse situations." "That's not reassuring." "Wasn't meant to be." He started walking toward the lodge. Shadow moved silently beside him, both of them slipping through the trees like ghosts. The first guard never saw him coming. Marcus took him down with a chokehold, silent and efficient. The second guard turned just in time to catch Shadow's jaws around his arm. "Release." Shadow released. The guard fell unconscious from shock and pain. 2 down, 2 to go. The third guard heard the commotion and came running. Marcus met him with a punch that dropped him instantly. The fourth guard panicked. He raised his weapon and opened fire. Marcus dove behind a tree as bullets tore through the bark. Shadow flank. The dog circled around using the forest for cover. The guard was focused on Marcus, never seeing Shadow approach from behind. The Malinois hit him at full speed. They went down together, and by the time Marcus reached them, the guard was unconscious. "Good boy." Shadow wagged his tail once, then went back to alert mode. Marcus approached the lodge. The front door was locked, but a window on the ground floor was cracked open. Inside, he could hear voices. A woman crying. A man shouting. "Tell me where the documents are. I know Harrison gave you copies. I don't have them, I swear. You're lying. You've been lying for 12 years, but it ends now." Marcus slipped through the window and moved toward the voices. He found them in what had once been a lounge. Eleanor Vance was tied to a chair, her face bloody and bruised. Standing over her was a man in an expensive suit, Judge William Crane. "Tell me what I want to know," Crane said, "and I might let you live." "You'll never let me live. You need me dead." "I know too much." "True. But there are ways to die, Eleanor. Quick ways. Slow ways." Crane pulled out a knife. "I've learned so much from the people I work with. Techniques I never imagined. You're a monster. I'm a survivor, just like you." Crane pressed the knife against her cheek. "Now, the documents." Marcus stepped into the room. "Drop the knife." Crane spun around. His eyes widened when he saw Marcus, then narrowed with cold calculation. "The Navy SEAL. I've heard so much about you. Then you know what I can do. I know you're one man against my entire organization. I know that even if you kill me, there are dozens more who will take my place." Crane smiled. "This is bigger than one person, Mr. Cole. This is an empire. Empires fall. Not this one. Not today." Behind Marcus, a door opened. He heard the click of multiple weapons being cocked. "You didn't think I'd be unprotected, did you?" Marcus didn't turn around. He kept his eyes on Crane. "Actually, I was counting on it." The back door of the lodge burst open. Sarah appeared first, supporting Eleanor Vance's weight as Emily cut her restraints. Behind them came Danny's operators, the ones Marcus had secretly contacted during the drive. "It's over, Crane," Marcus said. "Torres has already transmitted everything to the Justice Department. The documents, the recordings, your daughter's testimony. By morning, it'll be on every news channel in the country." Crane's confident smile faltered. "You're bluffing." "Am I?" "Check your phone, if you still have signal." Crane pulled out his phone. His face went pale. "Breaking news," Marcus continued. "Supreme Court Justice implicated in child trafficking ring. That's the headline they're running with. No, this can't. Your empire is already burning, Crane. The only question is whether you go down with it or cooperate." Crane's hands shook. The knife fell from his grip. I want immunity, protection. I can give you names, politicians, businessmen, foreign contacts. That's not my call to make. Please, I'm begging you. I can't go to prison. Do you know what they do to men like me in prison? I have some idea. The front door opened. Torres entered, flanked by federal agents. Judge William Crane, you're under arrest for conspiracy to commit murder, human trafficking, and corruption of public office. You have the right to remain silent. As the agents handcuffed him, Crane looked at Emily. Sweetheart, please, I'm your father. I raised you. I loved you. Emily's voice was steady. You bought me. You owned me. That's not love. I gave you everything. You gave me lies. Emily turned away. I hope you rot. They led Crane out of the lodge. Marcus watched him go, feeling something he hadn't expected. Relief. Sarah approached Lily, still holding her hand. Is it over? Sarah asked. The hard part is. What's the easy part? Marcus looked at Lily at Shadow at this family that had formed in the middle of chaos. Figuring out what comes next. Eleanor Vance was taken into protective custody. She would spend months testifying, unraveling the conspiracy that Crane had built over decades. Politicians would fall. Corporations would collapse. The ripples would spread across the entire country. But that was tomorrow's problem. Tonight, Marcus Cole stood in the snow outside the lodge, watching the lights of police vehicles flash against the mountains. Shadow sat beside him, as always. You did good, boy. The dog leaned against his leg. Sarah appeared at his other side. She didn't say anything, just stood there, shoulder touching his. I haven't thanked you, Marcus said finally, for believing in me, for pushing me when I wanted to give up. You never wanted to give up. You just forgot why you were fighting. And now you remember. Lily ran up to them, cheeks red from the cold. Marcus, Shadow. Guess what? What? Agent Torres said I was the bravest kid she's ever met. She said without me, none of this would have happened. She's right. Does that make me a hero? Marcus knelt down to her level. Yeah, Lily, that makes you a hero. The little girl grinned. Then she threw her arms around his neck. I'm glad you were in that cabin, she whispered. I'm glad I found you. Marcus hugged her back, feeling something he'd thought was lost forever. Hope. Me too, kid, he said. Me too. 3 months passed like water through a broken dam. The trials dominated every news cycle. Judge Crane, 6 state senators, 14 county officials, a mining corporation's CEO. Names Marcus had never heard and faces he'd never seen, all connected by greed and corruption that stretched back decades. Eleanor Vance testified for 19 consecutive days. She told the court about the trafficking operation the children sold to wealthy families the murders covered up as accidents. When she pointed at Crane and called him a monster, the courtroom fell silent. Emily testified too. She described growing up in a house built on lies the moment she discovered the truth about her adoption. Her decision to bring down the man who had pretended to be her father. The jury deliberated for 3 hours. Guilty on all counts. Marcus watched the verdict on television from Sarah's living room. Lily sat on the floor playing with Shadow while Sarah leaned against his shoulder. It's really over, Sarah whispered. The trial is over. The rest is just beginning. What do you mean? Before Marcus could answer, his phone rang. Agent Torres. Cole, you watching? Yeah. Good, because I need to see you. There's something you should know. Torres arrived an hour later. She looked different, Marcus thought. Lighter, like a weight had been lifted. The Bureau wants to thank you officially, she said. There's talk of a commendation, maybe a ceremony in Washington. I don't want a ceremony. I figured you'd say that. Torres smiled. But there's something else. Something that couldn't wait. She handed him a folder. What's this? Harrison's estate. The lawyers finished sorting through the details. Turns out the lithium deposit is worth even more than we thought. Close to 400 million. Marcus stared at the number. It didn't feel real. The mining rights are yours, Torres continued. You can sell them, develop them, whatever you want. You're a very wealthy man, Mr. Cole. Sarah's hand found his. Marcus, that's incredible. It's blood money. People died for this land. People died because of corrupt men, Torres corrected. The land is just land. What you do with it is up to you. Marcus looked at the folder for a long time. $400 million. Enough to disappear forever. Enough to buy anything he wanted. Enough to make a difference. I know what I want to do. What's that? A nature preserve. Protected land in Harrison's name. Nobody mines it, nobody develops it. It stays wild forever. Torres raised an eyebrow. That's a lot of money to walk away from. Harrison loved that land. He died protecting it. This is what he would have wanted. Sarah squeezed his hand tighter. I think that's beautiful, she said quietly. There's one more thing, Marcus added. The preserve needs a name. What did you have in mind? Marcus looked at Lily still playing with Shadow on the floor. The Lily Hartwell Wildlife Sanctuary. Lily's head snapped up. What? My name? Your name. Because you walked through a blizzard to save your family. Because you showed everyone what courage really looks like. Lily's eyes went wide. Then she launched herself at Marcus, nearly knocking him off the couch. Thank you, thank you, thank you, Shadow barked and jumped up too, tail wagging furiously. Within seconds, Marcus was buried under a pile of girl and dog, laughing despite himself. All right, easy. Torres watched the scene with an amused expression. I'll have the lawyers draw up the paperwork. Should be finalized within the month. Thank you, Agent Torres, for everything. Thank me by staying out of trouble. She paused at the door. And Cole, whatever you decide to do next, the Bureau could use someone like you. The offer stands. She left. The room felt quieter without her. Sarah helped Lily untangle herself from Marcus and sent her to wash up for dinner. A wildlife sanctuary, Sarah said, named after my daughter. She earned it. She's going to tell everyone at school. She'll be insufferable for weeks. Probably, Sarah laughed. It was a beautiful sound. Marcus, can I ask you something? Anything. What happens now, with us, I mean? The question hung in the air between them. I don't know, Marcus admitted. I've never been good at planning for the future. Always figured I'd die young in some foreign country, fighting someone else's war. And now I'm thinking maybe there's more to life than fighting. Sarah moved closer to him. What kind of more? The kind where I wake up every morning with a reason to keep going. The kind where I'm not alone anymore. You're not alone. You haven't been alone since Lily found you. I know. That's what scares me. Why? Marcus took a breath. This was harder than facing bullets. Because everyone I've ever cared about has ended up hurt. My team, my family, the people I was supposed to protect. He looked at his hands. I'm cursed, Sarah. Bad things happen to people who get close to me. That's not a curse. That's life. Bad things happen to everyone. Sarah took his hands in hers. The question is whether you let the fear of bad things stop you from reaching for good things. What if I can't protect you? What if something happens and I'm not fast enough, not strong enough? Then we'll face it together, like we faced the blizzard, like we faced Crane. Sarah's eyes were steady. I'm not asking for guarantees, Marcus. I'm asking for you. All of you. The broken parts and the strong parts and everything in between. Marcus felt something crack open inside him. The wall he'd built after Afghanistan. The isolation that had kept him safe, but also kept him empty. I don't know how to be a family man. Neither do I. We'll figure it out together. Lily deserves better than a broken soldier. Lily adores you. So does Shadow. And so do I. She kissed him. Soft, gentle, a promise of things to come. When they pulled apart, Marcus saw Lily standing in the doorway watching with a huge grin. Does this mean Marcus is going to be my new daddy? Sarah blushed. Marcus froze. Lily, we're just... Because if he is, then Shadow would be my brother, and I've always wanted a brother. That's not exactly how... Can I call you Dad, or would you prefer Papa? Joey Miller's stepdad makes him call him Papa, and Joey thinks it's weird, but I think it sounds nice. Lily, slow down. Or maybe just Marcus. Marcus is a good name. Strong. like a superhero. Marcus looked at Sarah helplessly. She was trying not to laugh. How about, Marcus said carefully, we start with Marcus, and we see where things go from there. Lily considered this. Okay, but Shadow stays right, no matter what. Shadow stays. Then I approve. She nodded seriously, like she was signing off on a business deal. You may continue kissing my mother. Lily! The girl giggled and ran off, Shadow chasing after her. Sarah buried her face in Marcus's shoulder, shaking with laughter. She's something else, Marcus said. She's her father's daughter. Sarah paused. I mean, her biological father. He was just as impossible. Tell me about him. Really? He was important to you? I want to know. Sarah settled against him, her voice soft with memory. His name was David. We met in high school. He was funny and kind and absolutely terrible at dancing. We got married too young because we couldn't imagine life without each other. What happened? Mining accident, cave-in. He was underground for 16 hours before they found him. Sarah's voice caught. He survived the collapse, but the injuries were too severe. He died in the hospital 3 days later. Lily was 4. I'm sorry. He would have liked you. You're nothing alike, but he would have liked you. How can you be sure? Because you saved his daughter. Because you gave everything to protect his family. Sarah looked up at him. That's what mattered to David. Not money or status or any of that. Just love. Just loyalty. Marcus thought about David Hartwell, a man he'd never met but whose legacy lived on in Sarah's strength and Lily's courage. I'll try to be worthy of that, he said. You already are. Lily's birthday party was 2 weeks later. Marcus spent days preparing. He had no idea what 7-year-olds wanted, so he asked Danny's wife, who had 3 kids of her own. She sent him a list that included unicorn's glitter and something called slime. Marcus bought all of it. The party was held in Sarah's backyard. 20 kids from Lily's school showed up along with their parents. Agent Torres came. Danny brought his whole family. Even Emily made an appearance, looking healthier than she had in months. Nice party, Emily said, standing beside Marcus as they watched Lily lead her friends in some kind of elaborate dance. I have no idea what I'm doing. Join the club, Emily smiled. For what it's worth, I think you're good at this. The whole family thing. I'm faking it. Aren't we all? Marcus considered this. How are you holding up with everything? Emily's smile faded slightly. Some days are harder than others. I keep thinking about all the things I didn't see, didn't notice. How could I have lived with him for 20 years and not known monsters are good at hiding? Still, I should have seen something. You did, eventually. And you did something about it. That's more than most people can say. Emily nodded slowly. My biological mother, Eleanor. She wants to meet. To talk. Are you going to? I don't know. She sold me, abandoned me. How do you forgive something like that? I don't have an answer for that. But I know that carrying hate is exhausting. And at some point, you have to decide if it's worth the wait. Emily looked at him for a long moment. You're different than I expected. How so? The stories made you sound like a killing machine. Cold, merciless. I've been that person. But not anymore. Marcus watched Lily grab Shadow's collar and pull him into the dance circle. The dog looked mortified but tolerated it with patient dignity. Not anymore. The party wound down as the sun began to set. Parents collected their sugar-crashed children. Danny and his family left with promises to visit again soon. Torres gave Marcus a firm handshake and told him to call if he ever wanted to discuss the Bureau's offer. Finally, it was just Marcus, Sarah, Lily, and Shadow. Lily was curled up on the couch, exhausted, but fighting sleep. Best birthday ever, she mumbled. Better than last year. Way better. Last year I didn't have Shadow, or you. Marcus sat down beside her. I have one more present for you. Lily's eyes opened. Really? He pulled out a small leather collar. It was identical to Shadow's working harness, but sized for a stuffed animal. For your teddy bear, he explained. so he can be a hero too. Lily took the collar with reverent hands. Thank you, Marcus. You're welcome, kid. Marcus. Yeah, I'm glad you stopped being sad. The words hit him like a physical blow. What do you mean? When I found you, you were so sad. I could tell. It was in your eyes. Lily yawned. But you're not sad anymore. Your eyes are different now. Marcus didn't know what to say. Lily reached up and patted his cheek with her small hand. It's okay. Everyone gets sad sometimes. But the important thing is to let people help you feel better. She snuggled deeper into the couch. That's what Mama always says. Within minutes, she was asleep. Sarah appeared in the doorway. She's right, you know. About what? Your eyes. They're different. Marcus stood and walked to Sarah. I've been thinking about Torres's offer. The FBI? Yeah, she wants me to consult on cases. Use my skills for something good. What did you tell her? That I'd think about it. Marcus paused. What do you think? I think you need to do something meaningful. I think you're not built for sitting still. Sarah took his hand. I also think you need to be careful. We need you whole, Marcus, not broken again. I won't break. Promise. There was that word again, the word that had changed everything. I promise. They stood together watching Lily sleep. Shadow had settled on the floor beside her, his head resting on his paws. Marcus. Yeah, I love you. And he hadn't heard those words in so long, hadn't believed he deserved them. I love you too. Sarah leaned into him, and they stayed like that as darkness fell outside. A family. Broken and rebuilt. Stronger for the cracks. 6 months later, Marcus stood in a meadow full of wildflowers. The sign behind him read, Lily Hartwell Wildlife Sanctuary. Below it, in smaller letters, in memory of Harrison Cole, who believed this land deserved to be free. The dedication ceremony had drawn a crowd. Reporters, politicians, environmentalists, people who wanted to be part of something good after so much darkness. But Marcus wasn't watching the crowd. He was watching Lily. She stood at the front wearing a junior ranger hat that Torres had given her, reading from a speech she'd written herself. This land is special because it's where heroes live. Not just people heroes, but animal heroes too. Bears and deer and eagles and fish. They all deserve a safe place to call home. She looked up from her paper. My friend Shadow is a hero. He saved my mama. He saved me. And now he gets to live here forever, watching over this place. Shadow sat beside her, dignified and patient. I want to thank everyone who helped make this happen. Agent Torres, Mr. Danny, Miss Emily, my mama. Lily's voice wavered slightly. And most of all, Marcus. She turned to look at him. Marcus was sad when I found him. He thought he couldn't save anyone anymore, but he saved us. And now he's not sad. Now he's my family. Marcus felt tears prick his eyes. That's all I wanted to say. Thank you for coming. Please don't litter. The crowd laughed. Lily grinned and ran to Marcus, throwing her arms around him. Did I do good? You did perfect. Sarah joined them, wrapping her arms around both of them. Shadow pushed his way into the group, tail wagging. A photographer called out, Mr. Cole, can we get a photo? Marcus wanted to refuse. He'd always hated cameras, hated attention. But Lily was tugging his hand, and Sarah was smiling, and Shadow was looking at him with those steady brown eyes. Fine, one photo. They arranged themselves in the meadow, Marcus in the center, Shadow on one side, Lily on the other. Sarah stood behind them, her hands on Marcus's shoulders. The photographer counted down. The camera flashed. And in that moment, frozen forever, Marcus Cole smiled. Not the false smile he'd worn for years. Not the grimace that passed for politeness. A real smile. The smile of a man who had found his way home. Later, after the ceremony, after the crowds had dispersed and the sun had begun to set, Marcus sat alone on a rock overlooking the sanctuary. Shadow lay at his feet. Lily and Sarah had gone to get ice cream, promising to bring him some. Marcus thought about everything that had brought him here. The blizzard, the girl at his door, the conspiracy that had reached to the highest levels of government. He thought about the men he'd lost in Afghanistan, about Amira, whose hand he'd held as she died. "I couldn't save you," he said quietly to the ghosts. "I couldn't save any of you, and I'll carry that forever." Shadow's ears perked up at his voice. "But I saved them, Sarah and Lily. And maybe that doesn't balance the scales. Maybe nothing ever will." The wind rustled through the wildflowers. "But it's something. It's a start." He heard footsteps behind him. Lily appeared holding an ice cream cone that was already dripping down her hand. "Here, I got you chocolate. Mama said you like chocolate." "Your mama's right." Lily settled beside him on the rock. Shadow immediately repositioned himself to be touching both of them. "Marcus, yeah. Are you happy?" The question was so simple, so direct. "Yeah, Lily, I'm happy." "Good, because happy people live longer. That's what my teacher said." "Is that so?" "Uh-huh. And I need you to live a really long time, because you're going to teach Shadow new tricks and come to my school plays and walk me down the aisle when I get married. You're 7. Let's not talk about marriage yet. I'm just saying, you have responsibilities now." Marcus laughed, a real laugh, deep and free. "I guess I do." Sarah appeared carrying her own ice cream. "What are you two conspiring about?" "Marcus's responsibilities," Lily said seriously. "Ah, did you tell him about the school plays? And the wedding?" "Good. He needs to know what he signed up for." Marcus looked at these two people, this mother and daughter who had crashed into his life and refused to leave. "I know exactly what I signed up for," he said. Sarah sat on his other side. Lily pressed against his arm. Shadow sighed contentedly. Above them, the first stars were appearing in the darkening sky. "Hey, Marcus," Lily said through a mouthful of ice cream. "Yeah, thanks for not letting my mama die." Marcus pulled her closer. "Thanks for finding me." They sat together as night fell over the sanctuary. A family formed in fire and ice, survivors who had found each other in the storm. And somewhere out there in the wildflowers and the forests and the mountains, the spirit of Harrison Cole watched over his land, finally free, finally at peace. Just like Marcus, because sometimes the darkest paths lead to the brightest destinations. Sometimes the most broken people build the strongest families. And sometimes a 6-year-old girl walking through a blizzard can save not just her mother, but a man who had forgotten how to save himself. That was the truth Marcus Cole had learned. That was the gift Lily Hartwell had given him. And that was the story that would echo through the mountains forever. The story of the seal who came home, the dog who found his purpose, and the child who proved that courage has no age. Heroes come home. All of them.